Alright, good afternoon, grade 12s. Today we're doing the last lesson in chapter 5. We're going to now look at the different types of business strategies. Right, this is just a summary. Obviously we'll do the detail later on in the slideshow. Just the different growth strategies. Okay, we're going to look at integration strategies, intensive strategies, and diversification strategies. There's 3 different integration strategies. There's forward vertical integration, backward vertical integration, and then horizontal integration. Your forward vertical integration is, for example, when we take control of distributing and marketing the goods. I will explain this later. Backward vertical integration is when we take control of a supplier. Horizontal integration if we take over a competitor. Then in terms of your intensive strategies, there's 3 different intensive strategies. We have market penetration, market development, and product development. With market penetration, the business is going to try to increase sales by increasing our marketing, our advertising, or lowering prices in existing markets. When we do market development, we try and increase sales by exploring new markets, and with product development, we try to increase our sales by introducing new products. Your diversification strategies, they are concentric diversification, horizontal diversification, and conglomerate diversification. With concentric diversification, we try to increase our sales by selling new products that is similar to the existing products that we are selling. Horizontal diversification, we appeal to our loyal customers to buy products that is different from the products that we are currently selling. And conglomerate diversification is a high-risk strategy where we expand our operations by introducing new products and also at the same time entering new markets. Right, so integration strategies, intensive strategies, and diversification strategies, they are all growth strategies. Right, then we're going to look at defensive strategies. These will be retrenchment, divestiture, and liquidation. Retrenchment, we have spoken about this before earlier in the year. This is where we try to decrease our production cost by eliminating jobs, retrenching people as a result of structural reasons. Divestiture is where costs are cut by selling parts of the business, divisions of the business, and liquidation obviously is a kind of last resort strategy where the assets of the business is sold and the business kind of dissolves. Right, so the first thing that we are going to look at in detail is our integration strategies. Integration strategies involves taking over or merging with other businesses to increase the growth potential. Right, there's 2 types of integration strategies. We can either do vertical integration or horizontal integration. But regardless of which one we are going to use, both of these strategies involves taking over other businesses. So we are merging, melting together with another business, or we are taking over that business to become part of our business. Right, if we just quickly look at the supply chain in the business so that we can understand forward and backward integration. If we look at the supply chain in a business, obviously we first need to buy our raw materials, right? The raw materials would basically come from our suppliers. Once we have bought our raw materials, the manufacturing process is going to take place. Okay, so manufacturing normally will take place in a factory. Right, after we have produced a finished product, those products need to be distributed to the market. Right, so we make use of a distribution channel. And then lastly, in retail, the retailer is where the product obviously is now going to be sold to the final consumer. Now, when we look at vertical integration, it can either be forward or it can be backward. when you give answers in an exam, you cannot just say forward integration and backward integration. It is very important that you mention also that it is vertical integration. All right, vertical integration, forward integration means that we are moving further up the supply chain. So if, for example, we are in manufacturing and we use a different business to do our distribution, if we do forward vertical integration, we will basically merge with our distribution channel and we will take over the manufacturing as well as the distribution. We will start doing our own distribution. If we move backward down the supply chain, we take a step back. Okay, so now if we're in manufacturing and we take over our supplier, all right, if I'm producing bread, that's my business, I'm in manufacturing of bread. Example of backward integration would be if I take over the farms that is supplying the wheat that I'm using to make the bread with. Forward integration would be if I'm the bread manufacturer and I take over the distribution or the retail. I start selling, I buy the shop, the bakery that is now selling my bread. All right. Horizontal integration is when we are combining with competition. Right, so if Albany is a bread manufacturer and Sasco is a bread manufacturer, if Albany takes over or they merge with Sasco, so Albany and Sasco melts together and becomes one business, that will be horizontal integration, taking over the competition. So vertical integration is moving upwards or backwards, up or down the supply chain, taking over a business higher up on the supply chain or lower down the supply chain. Horizontal integration is taking over a competitor. Right, so if we look at it in a little bit more detail with some more examples. Okay, for vertical integration, remember we said it can either be forward or backward integration. Forward integration is when the business combines with, we merge, or we take over a distributor or a retailer, somebody higher up on the supply chain. So it involves the expansion of our business activities to gain control over the distribution of the products. So if there's forward integration, we would basically then be in control of the manufacturing of the product as well as the distribution and selling of our product. All right, the example there, if we manufacture apple juice, okay, if we are the apple juice manufacturer, if we also take over a packaging plant, okay, so we're now not only making the juice, we are making the juice and we are packaging it so that it's ready for sale. We don't buy the containers from somebody else, we take over the supplier of the packaging, we take over the producer that is normally packaging our product, and now we do it ourselves. An example of backward integration, okay, if we combine business, we take over or we merge with a supplier, and the whole idea here is to decrease our dependency on a supplier. We obviously don't have control over the prices that our supplier is charging, over anything that they are doing. If we are able to take over the supplier, obviously we are not dependent on somebody else anymore. We now take control of our own raw materials. So in our example of the apple juice manufacturer, if we buy the apple farm that we normally got our raw materials from, so we buy the farm, we harvest our own apples, we supply our own factory, and then we manufacture the juice. Horizontal integration, as I said, is when a business takes control or takes over another business that is in the same industry that are selling substitute products. All right, so if we take over a competitor that is basically selling more or less the same or a similar product to what we are selling, the whole idea here is to reduce the threat of competition. All right, if there's more than one competitor, obviously people have to choose, right? Are they going to buy my juice? Are they going to buy somebody else's juice? If I take over the other juice company, then and we merge it into one, I have eliminated my competition, and now there is only one juice company. All right, so the whole idea is to reduce the threat of competition or the threat of substitute products. Okay, remember substitute products are those products that can replace one another. So it's products that satisfy the same need. The consumers are either going to buy the one product or they're going to buy another product. All right. In the case of complementary products, these are two products that can be used together. All right, so in order for a consumer to satisfy their needs, they would need to buy both of these products. All right, so example of a substitute product, dairy milk or soy milk, you're either going to use the one or the other. Example of complementary products, cricket bats and cricket balls. You cannot play cricket unless you have both. All right, so an example of horizontal integration, then if we stick to our example, if we are still the apple juice manufacturer, our competitor would basically be the mango juice manufacturer, and then we can take over, we merge or we take over the mango juice manufacturer. So now us as a company, we are producing both apple juice as well as mango juice. We have eliminated the competition by making it part of us. So whether consumers now will want apple juice or whether they will want mango juice, we will satisfy their need. We have a product to satisfy their need and we are going to make the money from the sales. Right, what are the advantages of integration? First of all, it makes sure that business have more control over the final prices. Okay, so we are not reliant on a supplier. And if suppliers are not putting up prices, their production cost goes up and we have to put our prices up. If we take control of those suppliers, we will determine our own production cost. We are not at the whim of other businesses controlling our prices. Okay, very big advantage obviously is to eliminate competitors in terms of horizontal integration. Obviously, if the threat of competition is there, if they substitute products for our product, obviously we will capture a certain part of the market share, but other people are still going to buy from the competitor. But if we merge with that competitor, we take over that competitor is no longer our competition, and we are now making money out of, like in our example, the apple juice and the mango juice. Our competitor is gone. We are the only one left. So we can make money out of selling both of those products. Right, we can increase our profitability because we are not making use of a separate supplier or a distributor. Obviously, the more people are involved in the supply chain, everybody wants to make a profit, right? So if we are taking over our supply, okay, we buy the apple farm in our example, we obviously have control over what happens on that apple farm, and we can make sure that we make use of efficient production methods. We can make sure that they are cost effective so that the cost of our raw materials can decrease. If our cost decreases, we can make more profit. Right, the business also have complete control. As I said, we are more independent. We don't have to rely on a separate supplier that we have no control over. We don't have to rely on a distribution channel to distribute our products for us. We don't have to rely on anybody else. We take control from the supplier side right through manufacturing of our product into the distribution of our product. Everything is under our control. All right, we can't control what happens to businesses that we don't own. Right, business is also better equipped to deal with shortages of supply because we own the supply. If we own that apple farm, we are fully aware of what is happening on that apple farm. And should there be shortages, obviously we will know about this in advance and we can make a plan. We don't have to wait for us now to order from our supplier and then we don't know what's happening with the supplier. If we own the supply chain, obviously then we will know exactly what is happening. Right, it also makes it more difficult for new businesses to enter the market because we can make sure that we have the sole access to a resource. Remember, a business can only enter a market if it has access to the raw materials. So if we have bought up all the apple farms in the area, it is impossible for anybody to open up another apple juice factory because they will not have access to their raw materials. We control all the apple farms. We are going to make sure that they will not have access to apples to use as a raw material. So we are basically preventing competitors from entering the market, ensuring that we will have the maximum market share and that we will make the maximum amount of profit. Right, if we move on to the intensive strategies, the whole idea here is to increase our sales and our market share by making use of existing products and resources, but coming up with new strategies. Right, so our 3 intensive: market penetration. This is where we sell existing products in existing markets. Difference. Okay. Market development. We sell existing products, but now we are selling our existing products in a new market. All right. So this strategy entails finding a new market and different ways of distributing our products. Obviously, if we want to enter in a new market where we don't know, we're not familiar with the market, obviously research is vital. We need to understand this new market that we are wanting to enter into, or who the consumers are, and how it is going to work if we want to enter this market. All right. An example of market development is if a local business starts exporting its goods. All right. So if our apple juice factory, we've been selling our apple juice in South Africa. When we do market development, we start to export our juice and we establish markets in, for example, America, right? So now it's not just the South African market. We are entering a brand new market where we've never sold our product before, but we are still selling an existing product. The last strategy is called product development. And this is the risky one. All right. This is where the business aims to introduce a new product. Okay, so we want to introduce a whole new product to an existing market, or we are going to just change our product slightly. Then we improve our product. Obviously, in order to develop a new product, we obviously need new technology, right? New machinery, depending obviously how closely related this new product is to our existing product as well. What needs to happen here is obviously we need to come up with a new idea and we need to develop new products or services. All right, so it has to be a new product that we are introducing into an existing market. So we are going to sell something that maybe we have never sold before. All right, so a new product that we have to develop first. Obviously, this is where creative thinking is going to come in as well, to try and think innovatively and come up with a new product, like from scratch. Okay, the example there, a computer company will develop a new computer that is faster or smarter and smaller than existing ones. Okay, so we're entering the market with a different product. The advantages of intensive strategies. Obviously, when we have a bigger market share, it does reduce our vulnerability to the actions of competitors. In a market, remember we said that the power of competitors are diminished if there are less competitors, right? But also if they are smaller, all right? The bigger the market share of a business, the bigger its influence over the price. So if we have the lion's share of the market, if we, for example, own 80% of the market, 80% of the customers are buying from us, whatever our competitors do is not going to have such a big effect on us. But we have to capture that market share. Right, it's obviously going to increase our sales, our income, and our profitability if whichever one of these strategies we are using, right? If we are launching an advertising campaign, the whole idea is that we want to increase sales. If we sell more, our income is going to increase, and with that also our profitability. If we are introducing new products, obviously, again, we are not just selling the same things as before. We are now selling additional items, which means our sales is going to increase. Same with if we're entering new markets. New markets have a whole new consumer base there, where now it's not only the South Africans that is buying our juice, also the Americans are buying our juice. There's more people in different markets buying our juice. So sales, income, and profitability will increase. Right. If there's improved service delivery, if we improve the products that we are using, that can improve the business image. And if people approve of our business image, obviously they will also support us more and we can increase our market share and increase sales. We can have more control over the prices of goods and services. Remember, I said the bigger your market share, the more control over the price you will have, right? So we want a bigger market share. That's the whole idea behind intensive strategies, is to increase our market share. And with that comes also a more control over the prices. Right, we want to gain loyal customers through effective promotion campaigns. An effective marketing campaign can make our customers stick with us. Okay, customer loyalty means that our customers will buy our product even if it is a little bit more expensive than the competitor, because they are loyal to our product. Ultimately, that is any business's goal, is to have customer loyalty. All right. And the only way we get customer loyalty is obviously through effective promotion, advertising campaigns, and a good quality product, right? Advertising is there to encourage them to try our product. And if the product is of a good quality, the good quality of the product will convince them to keep buying from us and not to switch to a competitor. Right, if there's a decrease in prices, okay, remember this, we said that's one of the strategies. Now we want to, if we're entering with an existing product to an existing market, one way of convincing people to buy from us is to decrease the prices. Now, as I said, everybody likes a bargain. So if we do decrease the prices to gain more customers, obviously that is going to increase our sales and our profitability as well. Right, regular sales to existing customers may increase. As I said, the idea is not only to increase our market share to get more customers, we also need to convince our existing customers to stick with us and to not switch to a competitor. Right, we can eliminate competitors and dominate the market prices. Obviously, if we're capturing a larger market share, if our competitors' customers are all switching to our products, obviously the competitor is going to be forced out of the market, right? So if we increase our market share to such an extent that our competitors are selling almost nothing, then when they leave the market, obviously that gives us lots of control over the price. It also enables the business to focus on markets and well-researched quality products. Okay, remember I said advertising brings them to us, but a good quality product will keep them with us. Yeah, that's what's going to convince them not to switch. Right, if we now look at the diversification strategies, this is where a business adds related products to its current product line. Okay, this is very, very risky because it means that we are moving into markets where we have a little or no experience. So we are new, we don't really know what we are doing yet. Right. And it often requires a business to have new skills, more facilities, might be a new factory to produce a new product, new production techniques. Okay. The first of the diversification strategies is called concentric diversification. Right, this is when new products that are related to our existing products are added to our existing product line in order to maybe attract new customers. All right. So this is basically when a business increases its product range and markets. Okay, so we look at our existing product. Okay, if our existing product, for example, is cell phones, right, that is an existing product. If we want to add product lines, we want to expand our product range, related products, so we can start also selling other kinds of electronics, right? We're going to start selling tablets. We're going to start selling laptops. All right, that's a concentric diversification. Very important, we're adding a new product, but the product that we are adding is related to our existing product. With horizontal diversification, we're adding a new product, but in this case now, the product that we are adding is not related to our existing product, but it might be something that will appeal to our existing customers. All right. So an example of this can be when a business merges with another business that is at the same production stage, but it offers a different product. Okay. Now this is a very successful strategy if you have loyal customers. All right. So the advantage of this is if you are entering the market now, you're adding a new product that is unrelated to your existing product, but that your customers will definitely find interesting and they might be interested in buying this other product as well. All right, so if you have a successful business and you have loyal clients, customer loyalty, this can be successful, but you are entering the market with a product that you know nothing about. So if you introduce this new product now, and this new product is not of a good quality and it is really inferior product, it can damage your business's reputation. All right, because now even your original product is going to suffer if people believe that you are now trying to sell them inferior products, because the new product you are adding you know nothing about, and maybe it is inferior. Right, the example is the Mercedes-Benz, for example. Now, Mercedes-Benz, the product that they are selling is vehicles, cars, right? But they have added also an insurance service. All right, so people kind of assume they're people that are loyal to the Mercedes-Benz brand. Clients, there are some people that is what they buy, and that's the only car they will not even consider buying another one. So when they buy the next Mercedes-Benz new vehicle, the Mercedes-Benz people are also going to offer them insurance services. So instead of adding their new car now to existing insurance, they might want to consider rather having a Mercedes-Benz insurance services. All right, so Mercedes-Benz doesn't do insurance. That's not what they do. They do cars. But now they've entered into this market with a new product. It's not a car, so it's not related to their existing product. But existing customers, obviously people that drive Mercs, obviously do want to have insurance. Okay, so it does appeal to their existing customers. Right, the last example of diversification is conglomerate diversification. Right, this is again where the business is adding new products. They are unrelated to the existing customers, and it will appeal to different customers. All right. So now we're adding a new product and we are hoping to attract new customers. Right. So we're growing into new products, new services, new markets. Right. So the advantage of this, now we want to increase our product range and markets. If the industry suffers a downswing, that's the advantage of this. If people, like in our example here, if we look at the Virgin Group, that's our example. We get Virgin Atlantic, that's airways, so people flying around. It's a very upper class kind of airways. Virgin Money provides insurance. Virgin Active is the group of gyms. Virgin Mobile offers cell phones. Right. So if, for example, now with the coronavirus, Virgin Atlantic obviously is going to experience a downswing because people are not allowed to travel between different countries. People are not even allowed to travel within countries where lockdowns have been enforced, right? So the Virgin company is not going to make any income from Virgin Atlantic at this stage. But because they have all these other things, they also sell insurance, they also offer gym services, okay, which also now we can't use, and they also sell cell phones. So the advantage of this is one of these products experience a downswing. They can still make money out of all the other products as well. All right. But obviously because we are now entering the market with a brand new product and we're hoping to attract brand new groups of customers, very, very extensive research needs to be done in order to determine whether this is actually even viable and whether it can possibly be successful. Right, what are the advantages of our diversification strategies? Again, it increases sales and it helps the business to grow. Now we are adding products, we are helping our business to grow, we are selling different things, diversified things. It is going to increase our sales. Right. Diversification into a number of industries or product lines can also help to create a balance during economic fluctuations. As I explained now, if one of our products is experiencing a downswing, people are not really buying, we have other product ranges where people can choose from. So if we don't make money out of one thing at a particular period of time, we've got lots of other stuff where we can make our money from. Right, more products can be sold to existing customers. Okay, so if we are adding related products or we're adding a product that might appeal to existing customers, we are also going to sell more to our existing customers. And we are also going to create new markets, right? We also can gain more customers. If we're introducing a product that might appeal to a different customer, we are not only appealing to our existing customers, but we are also attracting new customers. Right, we gain more technological capabilities through product modification. As I said, we have to obviously do a lot of research if we want to introduce a new product, if we want to improve our own product. That is going to go hand in hand with research. and we will come up with more technological capabilities. Businesses also produce more output, losing less inputs, because one factory can be used to produce all of those products. Right, if we go to that very, very first example, the Apple example that I used, we can use the same factory to produce the cell phones and the tablets and the laptops. We don't have to establish a new factory for each. So it doesn't matter what we do, we have this one factory. We might as well use this one factory to produce more than one thing. Also, it improves the business brand and image. Now, the image of the business gets more well-known, especially if we can introduce a good quality product. It just promotes our brand, right? Everybody knows the Virgin brand. Everybody knows the Apple brand. Everybody knows the Mercedes brand. Those are the companies that was very successful with diversification. All right, and then it reduces the risk of relying only on one product. I did say before, if one product doesn't seem to be doing well in the market, we can recuperate our losses by selling the other products. Not all products are always going to be sold successfully. All products go through a life cycle where the demand for that product does decrease at some stage, and then we don't fall apart because we're not selling just one thing. We're selling 3 other things then to make up for the one product where the demand has dropped. Right, the last strategies that we're going to look at is our defensive strategies. Okay, defensive is last resort strategies. So at this point, we have tried all the other strategies and our business is just not reaching its goals. Our business is just not profitable. It's not making any money, right? So defensive strategies are things that we are going to do to try and protect the existence of the business. We want to save the business. We want to prevent this business from closing down. All right. And these strategies are normally considered during times of an economic downswing, when the economy goes into a recession and a depression. We are going to see a lot of this happening in the next couple of months in South Africa. The first defensive strategy is called divestiture. Right. This is when the business sells some assets or divisions that are no longer profitable, they are no longer productive. Right. So if, for example, a business has got different branches, then you have a branch in Krugersdorp, you have a branch in Randfontein, you've got a branch in Roodepoort, but not all of them are performing well. Maybe the Randfontein branch has been showing a loss for a while, and then in order to save the business, we need to close down the Randfontein branch. All right. Sometimes businesses sell different product lines. Okay, like the examples we just did now, if we look at the Apple brand, if Apple sells phones and tablets and laptops, but heaven forbid, and it will probably never happen, but let's say the popularity of iPhones decreases, right? So iPhones are just not being sold anymore. Nobody's interested in buying an iPhone. In order to save the Apple company, they can close down that product line. They will stop producing the cell phones and they will only concentrate on the more successful product lines. All right. Business can also sell ownership by decreasing the number of shareholders. Okay, they have to reduce the number of shareholders. Unproductive assets can be sold to pay off debts. Okay, so if you have machinery standing around in your factory that you're not currently using, you can sell those machinery in order to get an income that you can then use to pay off your debts. All right. Right, the second defensive strategy is called retrenchment. Okay, we've spoken about this before when we did HR as well. So this is the strategy where the business can decrease their production cost by terminating employment contracts for operational reasons. All right, so in other words, the business is busy making a loss. Their production costs are simply too high. They cannot cover all of their production costs. They cannot afford to pay as much wage and salaries that they have before because their revenue is dropping. All right, so then what they do is they terminate employment contracts of some of their employees, right? They cannot afford to pay all of their employees anymore. So some workers will become redundant, obviously, and some workers will lose their jobs because they cannot afford to pay them anymore. All right. It can also be as a result of a closing of the product line. Okay, so in my previous example, when the Apple company stopped making iPhones, obviously all the workers that was working in those divisions, all the workers that was working in the factories making the cell phones, they will become redundant because we are not making cell phones anymore. All right, so we won't have a job for them anymore because we have closed that product line. All right, so this strategy is normally used by a business when they're trying to increase their profits. Normally, they will be making losses, right? And they need to decrease those losses. No business can survive making losses for an extended period of time. And wages and salaries, unfortunately, is one of the big parts of production cost. Okay, it makes up about 80% of the production cost of businesses. So the easiest way to reduce their production cost is to retrench some workers. All right. Obviously, retrenchment will result in a loss of skills. It is not always the unskilled workers that are being retrenched. If we are, for example, closing product lines, there can be very skilled people that we don't need anymore. All right. So it does mean a loss of skills also for the business. The last defensive strategy is called liquidation. This is obviously the ultimate kind of end game, right? Liquidation is literally where the business's assets are sold, okay, to liquidate. And liquidate means to turn back into cash, right? So all the business assets are sold, all their machinery, their factories, whatever raw materials they are, whatever they have left that is owned by the business will be sold so that they can get money in order to pay their creditors, right? They don't have a cash flow, they're making a loss, so they need to get some money to settle their debts, right? They can also sell the entire business in order to pay all of their liabilities, if possible, and then close down the business, right? Sometimes when a business is liquidated, the cash that they generate from selling their assets are not enough to even settle all of their liabilities, right? And then obviously they will decide. All creditors will receive a certain amount of money, but obviously the creditors then are not going to receive all of their money. Okay. Now, when companies are in financial difficulty with the new National Credit Act that we spoke about in Chapter 1, one of the new things there is that a business that is in financial difficulty, a business that thinks they are not going to survive, and a business that is not able to repay all of its debt, it can apply for business rescue in order to avoid liquidation. All right. Liquidation is literally a last resort, right? When business rescue doesn't work, or if they declined business rescue, then obviously liquidation will be their only option, all right? Creditors may also apply for a forced liquidation. So if a business is busy making losses, and they cannot pay their debts, the creditors can also apply for a forced liquidation so that they can get their money back. All right, the unfortunate effect of liquidation is that the business they're desperate to get their assets sold. They're desperate to get their hands on some cash. So normally their assets are sold for a lot less than what they're actually worth. All right, a lot of times this is done at an auction. All right, so many times the business they don't actually get the amount that they are entitled to because their assets are sold for less than the book value, less than what it is worth for. All right. So obviously liquidation, as I said, is a last resort strategy. All right. If a business is liquidated, literally, the business is going to close down and everybody working for this business will lose their jobs. Creditors will get some of their money, but not necessarily all of their money. Right, the advantages of defensive strategy. Obviously, if they are successful with retrenchment, for example, it can decrease the expenses of the business. Okay, so if we can decrease our production cost, we might be able to make a small profit again. We can increase our productivity by focusing only on our activities that are actually profitable. Okay, remember, we're closing down product lines that are not very successful. So we are no longer wasting money on keeping those factories operational. If we close them down, we can focus our attention only on the activities that are very profitable, and then we can obviously make them more successful. All right, and then the advantage there also, if you have financial difficulty, you may apply for business rescue, and that can help you to avoid liquidation. When you are in business rescue, they help you they negotiate basically with your creditors to decrease your monthly payments. You take longer to pay off your debt, but at least then the business can survive, the business will carry on, and people will keep their jobs. Right, now what is very, very important is you must be able to identify the business strategies from given scenarios. Right, from the beginning, okay, then they They can say, okay, identify a defensive strategy, or they can just say, identify the business strategy. So you must know these business strategies very, very well. Summarize this for yourself so that you can see, like in one sentence, what each strategy actually entails, right? Introducing new products, new markets, retrenching workers, whatever. Make a summary of all of these strategies for you. Make sure that you absolutely can identify them out of a scenario. Sometimes it gets very confusing. Right, the last thing we're going to look at is just the steps in strategy evaluation. We've spoken about evaluation before. Remember, evaluation is not something that is done at the end. It is happening throughout the process. All right. So first of all, we need to examine the underlying basis of a business strategy. We have to look forwards and backwards into the implementation process. What we do when we evaluate is we compare the expected results with our actual performance. Okay, remember, that's what we said evaluation is. We have set ourselves a goal. We want to capture 50% of the market share. When we do evaluation, we need to say, right, this was our goal. We want to capture 50% market share. In reality, we have only captured 40% market share, right? We are comparing what we expected to happen with what is actually happening. And then we need to determine the reason for deviations, right? We only got 40%, we wanted 50%. What are the reasons for this? Okay, why did we not reach our goal? And once we have reasons for the deviations, we need to fix it. We have to take corrective actions so that we can correct those deviations. That's why we have to evaluate throughout, all right, so that we can fix it halfway through if there is a problem. What is important is to set specific dates for control and follow-up. It can't be vague, right? We have to say we're going to evaluate this every 2 weeks. We're going to monitor and we're going to follow up. If we don't put a specific date to it, it is going to fall by the wayside and it's not going to get done. Right, we also need to draw up a table with advantages and disadvantages of a strategy, because obviously we need to choose the correct strategy for implementation. And the only way to do this is to compare the advantages and disadvantages of the different strategies to see where the biggest advantages will lie. We are going to choose a strategy that gives us more advantages compared to the disadvantages. Right. We need to decide on the desired outcome. Now we need to set a target, right, a measurable target. And then we need to consider the impact of our strategic implementation in the internal and external environments of the business. Okay, remember this whole strategy thing is about our position in the environment of the business, okay, the different environments of the businesses. All right, so we need to measure, we have to be able to measure the impact of the strategy that we are going to introduce in the internal environment, our microenvironment, as well as the macro and market environment. All right. Now, what is important, these steps in the strategic evaluation, these steps do not have to be in order. All right. Obviously, it makes more sense if you put them in order, but to give marks in a test or an exam, we don't take them only in order. They can be in any order, but make sure that you explain properly, like it is on the slide.